Hi, this is Abul Hussein coming to you direct from London, the United Kingdom, and I have a very special guest joining me all the way from Manhattan, New York City. Well, it might not be New York City, but that's my idea of geography for you there. Now, if you are watching this interview outside of our social media group, and that's our Facebook group for social media marketing agencies, then find the link above or below this video, or go to 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗂𝗵𝗲𝗂𝗏.com, especially if you are looking to start or scale your agency. Now, with that out of the way, as I mentioned, I have a very special guest joining me from Manhattan. He has quite an interesting history. He has been at the forefront of social and influencer marketing from 2006. So it's quite a long time he's been there. Currently, he is a partner and also chief social officer at Mekanism, an independent creative agency. And there is quite an interesting story there, because he used to work at Mekanism many, many years ago, went off, did his own thing, became an agency owner practically by accident when he was simply looking to do consulting. And in the process, he's also been listed as one of the 30 under 30 by Forbes. His agency has won Best Video Agency of the Year as awarded by Digiday. And I'm sure he's got so many more accolades that we can talk all day and night about. Now, with that, I'd like to welcome Brendan Gahan to the show. Brendan, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it took a while to go through all of your accolades, and then, you know, without trying to slip up or anything like that. So, you know, you are currently partner and chief social officer at Mekanism. So why don't you tell a bit about yourself and your journey in the digital marketing space?
For sure. Yeah, in terms of my background and journey, like you referenced, you know, I got into this space really in 2006. In 2005, I graduated from college and got an internship at a boutique ad agency in San Francisco. And it was a really interesting time because that was right when, you know, Facebook and MySpace were starting to become a thing, and then shortly thereafter, YouTube. And so just kind of being the younger guy in the office, people would always kind of come over and be like, what's the deal with this? Like, what do you think about that? And I kind of found myself gravitating towards social in general. And then I remember like the first time I heard how much like a billboard costs and being just like shocked. And I was like, we could do so many cool, you know, things with this. And so I started just slowly pitching ideas and lobbing out ideas. And yeah, in 2006, sold through an influencer brand activation with these YouTubers, these guys 𝗬𝗵𝗲, who are, you know, they're still around. They're pretty massive. For a while, they had the largest channel on YouTube, and it just crushed. Like, you know, they actually crashed the client's website. They got millions of views, and I was like, this is incredible. I want to do this. And so I kind of used that as a bit of like a jumping off point in a way into Mekanism, which at the time was doing a lot of really interesting, like viral video and branded content stuff. And we sort of built out kind of distribution strategies. And as part of that, it was like working with influencers and kind of blog seeding and all that stuff. And so I got to work with a lot of big creators very early on when, you know, influencer marketing wasn't the big thing that it is nowadays. And then was at Mekanism for about 6 years. And then from there, I went and joined a startup in LA, Fullscreen, which was a YouTube multi-channel network, and continued to work with creators. And then I struck out on my own and started I mean, initially, like you referenced, I thought I was going to consult and kind of take my time to figure out what I wanted to do. But this was like 2014 or so, and influencer marketing was really starting to pop off, and just like, you know, a bunch of old clients came out of the woodwork, and I ended up hiring people, and we took on accounts, and we were really focused on influencer marketing and helping brands with their YouTube channel strategy. And after about, it was just shy of 2 years of doing that, like I was burnt out and I wanted out. And so I hired some lawyers to help me out, and we shopped it around. And I'm still very close with the CEO at Mekanism. We would talk. I'd like pick his brain, get advice, and like at the 11th hour, he's basically like, I literally had a letter of intent. He's like, don't take that, come back. And so we worked out a deal, and I came back, and I've been back in the Mekanism fold for about 5.5 years now.
Awesome. That's a great story, And, I mean, tell me more about this. In 2012, Forbes listed you as one of their 30 under 30. What was that in recognition of?
Yeah, I think at the time it was really in recognition more than anything of the influencer marketing stuff and the viral video campaigns we were doing. We had and we were doing massive like influencer networks. We would get like 50 influencers to create content around a brand or a movie premiere or launch. And those were all wildly successful. We would get tens of millions of views. And like I referenced, we did a lot of early viral video stuff. One of our videos, I can't remember where it ended up ranking overall, but like one year, I think we had like, I don't know, I think it was maybe the second most viral ad of the year or something like that. It did really well. And so, yeah. And so that was kind of my focus. And we did so many of those. And it was, at the time, there weren't quite as many people doing, in particular, the influencer stuff. So that's really where it stemmed from.
Awesome. Because I think back around 2006, like you say, Facebook came onto the scene around maybe getting noticed around 2005. So you've actually been at the forefront. Now, there's a lot of people who are watching this who have very different notions of what influencer marketing is. From your perspective, how would you define influencer marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, it's, I guess just kind of in day to day, kind of how we reference it and what we mean on the agency side. It's working with individuals who have established social media followings and collaborate with them to get a brand message out there or drive a specific call to action on behalf of the brand.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a much simpler explanation than I was hoping from you. I mean, I have worked with
I can expand if you want.
No, it's fine. You can expand in the follow-up question that I'm going to ask you, right? Because I have worked with a lot of people in the e-commerce space, and they obviously want to tap into influencers. So they go on Instagram and they see people with like 500,000 followers. And then you have all of these people with 200 followers who might think they're a bit of an influencer as well. At what point do you class someone as an influencer who is worth working with?
I mean, I think in reality, it just depends on the brand. Maybe you're some, SaaS company and, you're focused on business to business. And you want to, as a result, you're not looking for scale. You could work with, maybe somebody on LinkedIn who has, a few thousand followers or on, whatever platform, has a YouTube channel focused on your niche. And I mean, that could be your entire audience, it could be this small group of people paying attention to them. So I would say, it's case by case. And yeah.
Okay, no, another measured response there. I suppose for a retailer who might be looking at a lot of sales and a lot of influence, they might expect someone with a huge following.
Well, yeah, and I think certainly size should be taken into account, but I think there tends to be this overemphasis on the size of following, both large and small. A few years ago, I would say 95% of the brand deals were centered around the, top 1% of creators in terms of audience size. Now, and then a couple of years ago, we saw this swing back the other way where it was like, no, don't work with big influencers, work with micro influencers and nano influencers. And both could work. Some will be better fits for some brands than others. And I think ultimately what anybody in this space should focus on first and foremost is, what are my goals? What are my KPIs? And then back into that and focus on relevance, you know, like who's my target demographic? What verticals are they interested in? What platforms are they on? What's the desired outcome? Is it more of like education, kind of just general awareness, or am I focused on sales? And build out that very clear criteria, and then start to research influencers that fit that criteria. And I recommend, and the process we do at our agency is build out a much larger roster of influencers than we actually need. And we'll then go out, you know, to the ones that are approved by the client, and we'll just have conversations with them. We'll be like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we have in mind. You know, does this seem like a good fit for you? Are you excited about this? And kind of just try and build a dialogue. You know, it pretty quickly you can tell if somebody's excited about something, or if like you're just another, you know, project on their to-do list, and they're going to try and just move it along really quick. And so I find that personal touch to be really key in both the onboarding, or sorry, both the identification process. I would also add in the onboarding process. And for us, you know, we work with Fortune 500 brands, and wherever possible, what we like to do, and it's not, you know, we're not able to do this with every brand, but where we can, we try and do like in-person events, like we'll call them summits. Oftentimes flying creators out to the headquarters or some brand related event activation, and let them really get immersed in the brand and kind of educate and entertain them, so that they walk away with it with a much deeper understanding than just hear the bullet points off of, you know, from the brief. Because in my experience, I have found that you get much better output when you put in that time and investment, because you invest in them, they invest in you, and it's a deeper understanding of the brand and the objectives than just kind of a simple brief or something you pass along in an email.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in terms of the clients that you're working with and their expectations when it comes to using influencers, are they primarily after brand awareness, or are they looking to drive conversions, or a mixture of both? What are the kind of KPIs that you work towards?
Yeah, generally we tend to do more brand focused, brand building activations. So oftentimes the metrics for success are the vanity metrics. What's our overall view count, likes, comments, engagement? Well, you know, we've got social listening tools, so we can pick up the chatter online around those activations and get an understanding of, has this changed sentiment? Do people understand what's going on in the message that we got out there? That said, well, that's the bulk. We've done acquisition focused campaigns as well, actually, you know, leveraging influencers to drive sales, as well as kind of more educational type campaigns, where the focus is really to make sure people have a real understanding of the product. So, you know, there's a variety, but I would say we've probably done more or less at least a little bit of all of it.
No, that makes sense. So, I mean, for the campaigns that you have worked on, what has been most memorable for you, or which campaign are you the most proud of, I suppose?
That's a good question. I think the campaign that I'm probably most proud of is this one that we did for Mountain Dew. And basically what we did was we structured, we signed about a half dozen creators to multi-year contracts, and they were treated just like in a similar manner to the way you do an endorsement deal with like an athlete. And so we had gamers, we had skateboarders, we had various athletes and comedians. And we basically, you know, every month had them doing different activations. We would assign them different products that they were promoting. And we just did so much cool stuff. Like we integrated them into Super Bowl ads. We had them do event appearances. Mountain Dew actually sponsored a VR game to be built. And we actually had one of our influencers in there as a character. And so they were really excited about it. You know, they got into it. They were really almost like an extension of the agency or the marketing team, in that they knew the brand inside and out. And so it wasn't this like heavy lift each time. We could kind of play with it, have some fun, and apply learnings. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people in this space make is they focus too much on a single activation. Like we're gonna put all this time and effort in identifying an influencer or influencers, onboarding them, making sure they understand the messaging, and then you know, doing all the negotiations, and then they go out and push something out in the world, and everybody walks away. And I think that dilutes the credibility of both the brand and the creator. Also, the process, that's like the really hard part, those first few activations and the onboarding and contract negotiations. It just gets easier the more time you do it, and you get economies of scale and all these other benefits, category exclusivity. So yeah, with that campaign, we got, I don't know, I think 750 million views or some absurd amount. And like, you know, the on the brand side, I don't remember the exact metrics, but they saw a noticeable increase in terms of brand perception and increase in sales. And a big portion of that was attributed to our campaign.
Yeah, that's quite amazing. And obviously, the way you've kind of explained that campaign, it's a lot more than what a small business might do when they're trying to work with influencers, where they'd find the influencer, send them a DM, and then they'd get like a sponsored post out or something like that. With obviously kind of, when you're looking at it from a corporate perspective, there's a lot more in the whole nurturing sequence. Now, let's talk about influencer fraud, because it's become quite a big topic over the last couple of years. And this costs brands like $1 billion+ a year. How do you, as an agency, kind of, I suppose, how are you working to counter influencer fraud and making sure that you're not working with people with like bots behind them?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think it's a very real problem. I would also say, in terms of doing this enough, you kind of, it's pretty easy to like spot like what is and is not real. But there's a number of tools out there. Oftentimes, really just looking at their engagement rates, you can get a very clear idea of whether or not it's legit. Like looking at their comments, looking at Social Blade and seeing their statistics and growth. You can kind of see, for example, was there just like a crazy meteoric rise out of nowhere on subscribers, but no increase in viewership. You know, there's like anomalies that are pretty easy to spot. So depending on the platform, you know, we go back and like look at like, you know, what are the averages? Because we need to go to our clients and basically project out like, all right, we're going to hit, you know, this many, you know, we're aiming to reach approximately this many people, get this many engagements, get this many views. So we have to go back and look historically quite a ways back to really get an accurate projection. And in doing so, you're looking at like, are there anomalies here? And even just looking at their comments. But that's all stuff you can do even just anecdotally, just kind of looking at it. That said, there are a number of services as well, and you can do third-party audits and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. And obviously, you know, you essentially got bought out by Mekanism. So, you know, and I'm guessing a lot of the stuff that you're doing when you are kind of running your own agency is very similar. How have things changed for you after kind of being bought out and then coming in as a partner and chief social officer? What are you doing differently now in that role than when you kind of you owned 𝗵𝗄𝗃, I believe?
Yeah, I would say So when I started Epic, it was really focused on two things. It was influencer marketing and YouTube content strategy. And I focused on those because I didn't think I could go and compete with like an agency, you know, a social media agency and stuff. And so, and those were the two kind of specific skill sets that I think I'm probably most confident in and have the most experience in. So kind of carved out that as like, this is my niche. Once we sold to Mekanism and I was back in that fold, obviously we need to be full service. We're, you know, an integrated ad agency. And so we've got now community management and all the analytics and social media listening, real-time activations and monitoring. You know, we continue to do influencer marketing. We continue to do a lot of YouTube channel optimization, best practices. And we're doing a lot more partnerships, kind of stunty activations in collaboration with like emerging platforms and that kind of thing. So the kind of the skill sets and the offerings are much broader now. And I'm also being looped in earlier and part of like a holistic campaign versus perceived as more of like a vendor where it's like, you're the end of the line. It's like, we need this, just go make it happen. And you can't really influence it as much when you're down at the tail end of the process.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And a lot of people who are watching this are going to be kind of startup agency owners, or, you know, they're in year 1 or year 2, and they're kind of, you know, still looking at picking up big clients. What tips could you share with them for those who are seeking to, I suppose, procure Fortune 500 clients on their books?
Yeah, I mean, I think hands down, the most important one is focus on a niche. Like for me, it was influencer marketing when influencer marketing wasn't quite as big and I was already kind of focused on that and down that path. But you can just add layers on top of layers, you know. Now it would be maybe start an influencer marketing agency around TikTok or Triller or, you know, some other smaller platform. Because, you know, if you're just a social media agency, well, there's a million social media agencies and there's ones that have more name recognition. So you can't compete with that, or you could, and you could try, but I would imagine be a lot more difficult. Instead, identify what are the opportunities, where is there less competition, because then you can get your foot in the door if you're known for a specific skill set. And once you're in, you inevitably get exposed to other opportunities. It doesn't mean you have to only do that one thing, but you should really focus on that. And I would say publicize that one thing that is very distinct and different, so that when people need it, there's no other option but to go to you.
That's a great piece of advice. And, you know, the funny thing is a lot of people say niche down, niche down, niche down. But I suppose when it comes from someone who has kind of, you know, is at the top of their game, hopefully people will raise it. Because to me, I mean, I don't know if I can call you the godfather of influencer marketing. Take that title.
I'll take it.
You know?
Yeah, sure.
This interview is going to be called the Godfather of Influencer Marketing Speaks, or something along those lines. You know.
Oh, that's awesome.
In terms of what's going on in the world right now with COVID-19 and the pandemic, how has that impacted your business, and how are you doing things differently?
Yeah, you know, it's definitely had an impact on the business. I think we're really fortunate in that most of our brands, not all, but most, have actually maybe been at the same kind of levels of sales, or maybe even increased in a handful of cases. There are a few that's not the case, but I would say overall, it just happened to work out that way. You know, a lot of CPG brands, like, people are not stopping buying, you know, ice cream and stuff right now. In terms of how we've adapted, certainly working from home, which everybody is doing. But I would say the content creation piece probably jumps out as the biggest change. So with productions, like we've actually done fully remote shoots where, you know, we don't have our whole team on set. There is, you know, the director and DP and the kind of a skeleton crew, and then everybody else is tuning in on, you know, in real time, watching it and giving direction and stuff. And so that's been really unique. And I think kind of exciting. Like I like change. I think with change is opportunity, and it keeps things exciting. So that jumps out though as probably the biggest, you know, departure.
Yeah, no. Makes absolute sense, because I've worked with a lot of video editors as well who are struggling to kind of, well, I mean, we're speaking on Zoom and this is going to be recorded, and they're creating a lot more content on Zoom and on online recording platforms. So final question for you, because we are very quickly running out of time. What is next for Mekanism? You know, what have you got in the pipeline that, you know, we should keep an eye out for, that you could share?
Well, I would say in the pipeline, I probably can't share anything, but one thing that I'm excited about that we just launched was we did a pro bono campaign that we developed, which was we partnered with Triller, which probably a lot of people are aware of, is sort of a TikTok competitor. And we created a hashtag challenge with Curtis Roach, the Board in the House guy. I don't know if you're familiar with him. That song went viral at the start of COVID. And it's all about inspiring, I would say encouraging people to greet each other in a socially distanced, safe way. And that was just really fun because, you know, there's a lot of digital personalities, you know, influencers, getting the word out in this, I think, really exciting, relatively new platform that people haven't done as many activations on. So that's probably the thing that just jumps to mind, is like recent.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'll be sure to check out that platform. I have downloaded TikTok, have not signed up for an account. Too scared right now with everything that's going on. But on that note, Brendan Gahan, the godfather of influencer marketing, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.